Hello there, welcome to Standard Voice Television News Channel. I'm Fauziya Ibrahim. Here are your top stories for today. Zamfara State Police arrested a man who rapes and murders brother's wife. Nigeria records 573 new COVID-19 cases. Reps query 187 billion spent on school feeding program. And on business, World Bank per capita income to shrink. And on the international scene, North Korea blows up liaison office with South. Now the news in details. The Zamfara State Police Command has arrested a 25-year-old man, Aminu Bala, of the Maradun's local government area of Zamfara State, who allegedly raped and murders his eldest brother's wife, Hawa'u Ilyasu. Parading the suspect before the journalists on Monday, the State Police Public Relations Officer SP Muhammad Shehu said the suspect confessed that he have raped the woman and later killed her.
On 15th June 2020, at about 04:30 hours, a report was received at Tudunwada police station that a housewife by name Hawa'u Ilyasu of 25 years age, who resides at Dampa area of Gusau, was raped and killed. The police, on the strength of the information, rushed to the scene and met the woman lying dead in cold blood. The whole body of the deceased was macheted and was evacuated to a Bokura Specialist Hospital, where she was confirmed dead by a medical doctor. The neighbors of the deceased were immediately interviewed, and on getting the information received discreetly, the suspect, Aminu Malam Bala, of Damaji village of Maradun local government area of Zamfara State, was arrested. On interrogation, the suspect confessed to have committed the rape and gruesome murder of the deceased. The husband, one Kabiru Bala, a senior biological brother to the suspect, who was away, confirmed through telephone conversation that the suspect once warned him that he would kill the wife, the threat of which he has carried out.
My name is Aminu Malam Bala. I am 25 years old. Certainly, I personally killed Hawa'u, the wife of my brother, whom I have some issues with. I regret this very unfortunate action, and I call on other people to desist from taking such actions that they will later regret. Our correspondent Nairi Samaila Mafra reports that the husband of the deceased, Kabiru Bala, said the suspect once warned him that he would kill his wife. The suspect, according to the PPRO, was currently undergoing interrogations as certain other crimes he might have committed prior to this incident. The police have said they arrested 799 suspected rapists and other offenders for gender-based violence across the country between January and May of this year. The Inspector General of Police, IGP Muhammad Adamu, stated this on Monday while he addressed State House correspondent after a closed-door meeting with President Muhammadu Buhari at the Aso Rock Villa in Abuja. The IGP said it had been observed that the lockdown occasions by the outbreak of the novel coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic has given birth to a rise in rape and other gender-based violence cases across the country, even though they have always been there as criminal activities. IGP Adamu said the briefing on the activities of the police in curtailing the crime became necessary because many members of the public were not aware of such efforts. IGP noted that some men raped for various reasons, including ritual purposes. He advised the public to collaborate with security agencies to combat the menace and other forms of gender-based violence in the country.
The Nigerian police so far from January 2020 till May 2020, we've recorded about 717 rape incidents that were reported across the country. And about 799 suspects were so far arrested. We'll call on every member of, every Nigerian that has or comes across any victim of sexual offenses, of rape, or gender-based violence to quickly report to law enforcement agents, because keeping it without reporting it will give room for the perpetrators to continue to commit the offenses. It is a very wicked offense. It is a very serious offense. It is very wicked of an individual to engage in rape or defilement. And there are a lot of causes. Some are doing it for ritual reasons, for ritual purposes. Some are doing it because they sit within the family and they see the victims and they feel the urge to go into it and do it. But such people should not be allowed to go scot-free.
The Edo State Governor, Godwin Obaseki, has finally decamped to the opposition People's Democratic Party, PDP. Governor Godwin Obaseki had earlier said he would make his decision known after he held a meeting with President Muhammadu Buhari. The Edo State Governor announced his decamping while addressing newsmen at the presidential villa shortly after his meeting with President Muhammadu Buhari. The governor took the decision following his disqualification to contest in the Edo State governorship election coming up in September 2020 by the National Screening Committee of the National Working Committee of the All Progressive Congress, APC.
Good news. You recall that my last statement, my last tweet, I said that I'll make a decision after my disqualification was announced by APC, that I will make a decision after I have consulted with the leadership and my supporters in Edo State, and also have informed the President. I'm just here today to inform you that I have now decided formally to resign my membership of the All Progressive Congress. Having done that, I will now announce in the next few days my specific line of action and what platform I will be contesting the gubernatorial elections on. I'm sure the whole country knows and is aware of what has gone on with me and the party chairman, the party leadership, which culminated in my disqualification as a gubernatorial aspirant. And upon that unfortunate decision by the chairman of the All Progressive Congress, I've decided to go and seek my gubernatorial aspiration on another platform.
Nigeria has recorded 573 new COVID-19 cases on Monday, bringing the total number of infections to 16,658. The Nigeria Center for Disease Control, NCDC, announced this in its official Twitter handle. It said that as at June 15th, Nigeria recorded 4 deaths, while no new states reported any case in the last 24 hours. The NCDC said that Lagos reported the highest number of cases with 216 new cases, and Rivers was second with 103 new infections. The 573 new cases are reported from 20 states: Lagos 216, Rivers 103, Oyo 68, Edo 40, Kano 21, Gombe 20, and FCT 17. Others are Delta 13, Plateau and Bauchi 12 each, Niger 10, KB 9, Ogun and Ondo 8 each, Abia 7, Nasarawa 5, Borno, Kwara, Benue, and Anambra 1 each. The NCDC said that till date Nigeria has 10,885 active cases, while 5,349 patients have been treated and discharged. It added that Nigeria recorded 424 deaths in 35 states and the Federal Capital Territory. The agency said that the increase in the number of COVID-19 cases across states calls for Nigerians to take responsibilities, especially with the use of masks, avoiding mass gathering and hand washing. Designated banks have received over 106 billion for COVID-19 eradication for the federal government in 2 months. The Office of the Accountant General of the Federation stated this on Monday in Abuja while giving details of the donations received through deposit money banks (DMBs) and Central Bank of Nigeria (CBN) Treasury Single Account (TSA) accounts. According to the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation, 1,689,757,689.87 was received as COVID-19 eradication support donations from 1st April to 31st May through designated commercial banks accounts and the TBS/TSA. The federal government, through the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation, opened commercial banks accounts in addition to the CBN and TSA accounts, through which donations to support the eradication of the COVID-19 in Nigeria would be made to ensure effective and efficient coordinations and management of the fund. A breakdown of the over 1.6 billion naira shows that 792,121,613.89 was received from 1st April to 8th March, and 897,635,879.98 was received from 9th May to 31st May. Presidential Task Force (PTF) on COVID-19 Chairman and Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, on Monday admitted delay in the payment of the allowances for frontline health workers involved in the management of the pandemic. The SGF, who spoke in a meeting with House of Representatives Committee on Public Accounts, also explained that the PTF was not involved in the management of funds donated by the private sector and did not receive any cash donations from foreign donors. He said the delay in the payment of the health workers was as the result of discovery that the initial amounts would not be sustainable, adding that negotiations with health workers on the new payment have been concluded. Payments for April and May, he said, are currently being processed. Boss Mustafa, who was responding to a question on the truth behind the information that initial workers on the front line who were not being paid their correct money, said it is true the negotiation was not a peak. But when the figures were looked at, it became quite impossible to be paid, so they went back to the negotiating table. The Presidential Task Force (PTF) on the novel coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic warned on Monday against reopening of schools and other activities of mass gathering. The PTF also reminded Nigerians that there were still possibilities for a review of all relaxed measures, adding that relaxation for restriction does not mean carelessness and that life is back to normal. Chairman of the PTF, Mr. Boss Mustafa, who gave the warning, lamented the continued violation to measures put in place to curb the spread of the virus, including ban of interstate travel. Some states have indicated plans to reopen some activities that encourage mass gatherings. In these categories are Cross River State, which has reopened public schools, Oyo State, which will open schools at the end of the month, and Kano State, which allows the opening of football viewing centers as professional football leagues resume in Europe. Mr. Boss Mustafa said they have received reports that some states are contemplating the reopening of schools, television viewing centers, sports stadia, and other places where large gathering will take place. The House of Representatives has expressed reservation over the whopping sum of 186 million reportedly spent by the federal government so far on school feeding program and decided to carry out a comprehensive investigation of the funds for accountability. Mr. Laura Opera told the House Committee on the Public Accounts that 64 billion out of the 186 million said to have been spent was spent on feeding the school pupils alone. The chairman of the committee, Mr. Bosayo Oluwole Oke, said other members of the committee expressed displeasure over the development, describing it as outrageous and unacceptable. Consequently, the committee currently investigating the management and utilization of the Presidential Task Force (PTF) on COVID-19, however, demanded a complete project audit of the program immediately. The lawmakers were visibly angered by the document submitted to the committee, which shows that the Nectar office received a credit of $400 billion from the World Bank, $321 billion from Abacha restitution, and other $400 billion set to be balanced to the government's equity fund. National Association of Resident Doctors (NAD) of Nigeria on Monday urged President Muhammadu Buhari to call some relevant government agencies and others as it directs its members nationwide to embark on an indefinite strike. It said the agents, who are mostly in the executive arm of government and agencies, were deliberately creating chaos to destabilize his administration. NAD, which however exempted its members at the front line of the COVID-19 battle from the strike, explained that it embarked on the industrial action following the expiration of a 14-day ultimatum it issued the government on May 30th. But the Minister of Labour and Productivity, Mr. Chris Ngigi, described the strike as uncalled for, saying the federal government has engaged NAD over some of the contentious issues. A Zoom meeting has been scheduled on Tuesday between the association and the government representatives. The president of NAD, Dr. Aliyu Sokombo, told reporters at a news conference in Abuja that the Nation Executive Council of the association decided to announce the strike after its Sunday meeting. And on the business, over to Samira Ibrahim.
Hello, I'm Samira Ibrahim with the business update. The shock of the coronavirus pandemic and shutdown measures to contain it have plugged the global economy into severe contraction. According to the World Bank forecast, the global economy will shrink by 5.2% this year. That will represent the deepest recession since the Second World War, with the largest fraction of economies experiencing declines in per capita output since 1870, the World Bank said in its June 2020 Global Economic Prospect. Economic activity among the advanced economies is anticipated to shrink 7% in the year, as domestic demand and supply, trade and finance have been severely disrupted. Emerging markets and developing economies are expected to shrink by 2.5% this year, their first contraction as a group in the last 60 years. Per capita income is expected to decline by 3.6%, which will tip millions of people into extreme poverty this year. The blow is hitting hardest in countries where the pandemic has been the most severe and where there is heavy reliance on global trade, tourism, commodity export, and external financing. And that's all we have on Business Desk today. I'm Samira Ibrahim.
Welcome back. And on the international scene, people watch a television news screen showing an explosion of an inter-Korean liaison office in North Korea's Kaesong Industrial Complex at a railroad station in Seoul on June 16th. North Korea blew up an inter-Korean liaison office on its side of the border on Tuesday, the South Unification Ministry said, after days of increasingly virulent rhetoric from Pyongyang. North Korea blew off Kaesong liaison office at 14:49. The ministry, which handles inter-Korean relations, said in one line alert sent to reporters. The statement came minutes after an explosion was heard and smoke seen rising from the long-shuttered joint industrial zone in Kaesong, where the liaison office was set up less than 2 years ago. Yonhap news agency reported citing unspecified source. Its destruction came after Kim Yo-jong, the powerful sister of North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, said at the weekend. Before long, a tragic scene of the useless North-South joint liaison office completely collapsed would be seen. Analyst says Pyongyang may be seeking to manufacture a crisis to increase pressures on Seoul, while nuclear negotiations with Washington are at a standstill. Since early June, North Korea has issued a series of vitriolic condemnation of the South over activists sending anti-prolonged leaflets over the border, something defectors do on a regular basis. And that's all on the news. To end the news, a quick look at the major headlines. Zamfara State Police arrested a man who rapes and murders brother's wife. Nigeria records 573 new COVID-19 cases. Reps query 187 billion spent on school feeding program. And on business, World Bank per capita income to shrink. And on the international scene, North Korea blows up liaison office with South. That's the news. On behalf of the management crew, Head of News and Current Affairs, Ibrahim, I am Fauziya Ibrahim. Goodbye.